Buenos días. Este es el noticiero de MinerAndina, su informativo semanal minero por streaming, con las principales noticias de la semana que pasó y una muy interesante entrevista con Rohitesh Dhawan, presidente y CEO del ICMM. Presidente de ICMM llega al Perú y se reunirá con empresas y líderes mineros. Palamina aumenta paquete de tierras en torno a su proyecto Galena en Puno. Tier 1 Silver comienza estudios CSAMT en Curibaya. Minera IRL anunció resultados iniciales de perforación en Corihuarmi. Newmont pospuso nuevamente decisión de inversión de Yanacocha Sulfuros. Silver Mountain inicia elaboración de un NI 43101 para su proyecto Milagro. Peruvian Metals logró récord de producción en Águila Norte al primer semestre. Great Panther Mining anuncia LOI no vinculante para vender mina Coricancha. Y recibe aviso de exclusión de cotización de NYSE American Este. Sierra Metals anunció accidente fatal en Yauricocha. Camino recibe DIA para perforación en proyecto María Cecilia. Panoro Minerals completa acuerdo con la comunidad agraria de Cochapata. Regulus amplía mineralización en Antacori. MinerAndina Internacional, Brasil. Campaña de Lula contempla nuevos cánones mineros en Brasil.
Buenos días amigos, estamos en el noticiero de MinerAndina, una nueva edición. En esta ocasión tengo el gusto de presentar a Rohitesh Dhawan. Él es presidente del ICMM, el Consejo Internacional de Minería y Metales. Como todos sabemos, es una entidad que agrupa a las principales empresas mineras, ¿no?, que se comprometen con altos estándares, ¿no?, en todos los temas de desarrollo social, desarrollo ambiental y por un desarrollo sostenible. Entonces, bienvenido Rohitesh, vamos a pasar a inglés y luego vamos a traducir. Good morning, my morning, Rohitesh. How are you? Can you tell us shortly where are you now? If you are in the morning, evening,
Good afternoon.
And thank you for joining us. And please tell us shortly about ICMM, about the institution, please.
Great. Well, good afternoon. I'm coming to you from London in the UK. It has been my home for the last 7 years, but my actual home is South Africa, a country which has a very rich mining heritage, just like Peru. But I joined ICMM as the chief executive and president in April of last year. And I think ICMM is a very special organization. In fact, the mining industry is the only industry to have a body like ICMM, where the leaders of the industry come together to speak collectively about our commitment to sustainable development. And so ICMM consists of 26 companies who are represented by their chief executives and 37 associations who help us take the message of responsible mining to more than 2,000 companies around the world. And our mission as ICMM is to collectively commit through 10 mining principles to the highest standards of responsible mining. And we do this because we believe that the mining industry, when it is done well, can be a very powerful enabler of sustainable development. But of course, there is also the potential that if accidents occur or if challenges happen, that people and the planet can be caused harm. So we think it is absolutely essential that all companies, whether or not they're ICMM members, adopt the very highest standards of responsible mining practices.
Yes, very, very, very important. Can you tell us when 20 years ago, when the ICMM were formed, uh, were the same concerns 20 years ago as now, or it was something different in the foundation of the institution?
When ICMM was created in 2002, 5 companies had come together to establish this global body that would speak to society about the industry's position on sustainable development. If I can be honest with you, it was a time of crisis for the industry when society had lost faith that the mining industry would do the right thing. And so companies came together to speak with one voice collectively and to demonstrate leadership on sustainable development issues. What was very special about the creation of ICMM all those years ago was that it was developed out of a very extensive consultation process. Nearly 5,000 people provided their input about what the future of the mining industry on sustainable development should be like. And that was captured in a process called MMSD, and it led to the creation of the Toronto Declaration, which gave birth to ICMM. Now, 20 years later, the organization is much bigger. It has grown from 5 companies to 26 companies. But the essential challenge and the opportunity that lies ahead of the industry is the same, which is that as the world has changed and as the industry has evolved, how can mining be a partner for sustainable development? And when we look to the future for the next 20 or 30 years, it is clear that the mining industry will be at the heart and center of the biggest transformation that the world will go through in at least the last century. And what I mean by that is decarbonizing the global economy so that we can keep the rise in temperature to less than 1.5 degrees or at most 2 degrees. We know that the solution to doing that is to use renewable energy in all applications and to accelerate the electrification of current use of fossil fuels. In both those cases, electrification and renewable energy, that means much more metals and minerals will be required to power wind turbines and solar panels and batteries for electric vehicles. And so we see our role and mission as critically important because we will be helping raise the standards of performance of the entire industry at a time when the industry is going to grow rapidly. We've never seen a kind of growth that we are likely to see in the industry in the next 30 years.
Okay, that is very big job. That is very important and very big, big agenda. Uh, for the next 5 years, in this path that you are talking to us, what is the main points of the agenda to achieve these goals in 5 years, next 5 years?
We look even at closer than 5 years at the next 3 years and then onward. And what we have found is that there are 12 areas where the industry needs to progress substantially on issues of sustainable development. Excuse me. Now, 12 is a lot, of course, but when you look at all the issues that are happening on environment, social, and governance issues, are you still able to hear me? I can hear you. At ICMM, we plan our work in 3-year strategy cycles. And for our next 3 years, we have 12 areas of focus that span across the most important issues related to environment, social, and governance challenges in the mining industry. But if I was to take perhaps the top 3 challenges for our industry in the next 3 to 5 years, the first would be tailings management. And just yesterday, we learned of a tragic tailings dam failure in Jagersfontein in South Africa at a diamond mine. Sadly, 3 people lost their lives. Homes were swept away and several individuals remain in hospital. It demonstrates the importance of the entire industry adopting the global industry standard on tailings management, which of course is a condition of membership for ICMM members, but this company was not an ICMM member. And we are working closely with the Minerals Council of South Africa to encourage all companies to adopt the global industry standard on tailings management. And that remains a top priority for us. A second issue is on decarbonization. Now, we as the industry are at the heart and center of the world's decarbonization efforts. We will be supplying the metals and minerals that will make the decarbonization of all other industries possible. That makes it even more important that our own operations are as low carbon as possible. And here, I think we have made excellent progress in the last few years. And last year, all ICMM members committed that we will be net zero on scope 1 and 2 greenhouse gas emissions by 2050 or sooner. And in the next few months, we will be demonstrating our progress according to that goal. And I can already tell you that the progress is extremely encouraging. And so decarbonization remains a critical agenda for the world and for our industry. The third topic I would mention, maybe, which is very important in Peru as it is in developing countries around the world. I have spent most of my life in emerging markets, and I have seen how the social issues around the mining industry are of critical importance. Now, as the world comes out of the COVID period, but into another period of a cost of living increase because of higher energy prices, and because job opportunities may be more difficult to come by as the economy is slowed down, people will be looking at our sector as a growing sector, as a source of jobs and revenue. Now, how we can best create those economic and social opportunities for people while allowing the industry to remain competitive is going to be such an important question in the next few years. And that is why a very close dialogue between governments and the industry is essential to make sure that we end up with a system that allows the industry to continue to operate and grow, but that the benefits of that industry are shared with local communities and with host governments.
Yes, that is very important because how? No, the question is how. What precisely in this point, how is looking ICMM that these goals can be achieved? No, for instance, how to guarantee that the technology, no, is in the from here now to 10, 20 years, no, we can have the technology to these goals.
Maybe it starts first with disclosure and information. When everybody has the right information, it can create the better conditions for dialogue and joint solutions. And towards that end, we as ICMM companies have made 3 very important commitments that will see us disclose the information that will allow all parties to come together and talk about solutions for the future. The first is that we have committed to make all of our contracts with governments that we enter into or amend from the 1st of January 2021 public. So everybody is able to see the nature of the relationship between the mining company and the government so that everybody is clear about where the accountabilities and responsibilities lie. The second piece of information relates to the tax payments that the industry makes. And taxes are an important issue, and governments are increasingly looking at tax policy towards the industry. And to this end, the industry will shortly begin reporting the tax payments that we make on a country-by-country basis, not just at an overall global level. This will make the mining industry the first in the world to report tax payments on a country-by-country basis consistently across the largest players. Together with contracts, tax payments give citizens the information they need to understand the benefit that mining companies are adding to their countries. The third piece of information is a consistent way of reporting social and economic benefit that is created by mining companies. So in terms of the jobs that are created, both the number of jobs and the type of jobs, the skills development that companies are able to provide, the support to governments, local procurement, these are all topics that are talked about differently by different companies around the world. And when we can standardize and speak about it the same way, it allows stakeholders and people who live in mining countries to understand how one set of job creation compares with another. And we have committed that we will do this consistently across the ICMM members in the next few years. And importantly, maybe it will also show how much of that benefit goes to men, how much to women, what is the ratio of the salary, for example, that mining companies pay to the local living wage, and what is the ratio of the median wage to the chief executive's compensation. So maybe all of the issues we are talking about here today, particularly social issues, they start by everybody having the right information. And when everybody has the right information, we can find joint solutions to these challenges.
Okay, wow. It's when you are talking, I was thinking about not all governments are aligned in this path, and not always communication and information is able for everybody, or not everybody is able to understand information. So have you how governments can improve these very important points?
It's a very good point, Maybe, and we try and support governments where we can to do their part on good mineral resource governance and to support their citizens to understand the information and to use it. For example, ICMM has for a very long time supported EITI, the Extractives Industry Transparency Initiative, and we encourage governments around the world to become members of EITI because we believe that their citizens will be better off through the transparency and disclosure that comes with EITI membership. But maybe if governments do not sign up to become EITI members, we will still voluntarily apply the same standards of disclosure in a non-EITI country like we would if that country was an EITI member. Secondly, we work very closely with the Intergovernmental Forum, or IGF. Now, IGF is a sister organization to ICMM, and just as we bring together companies in the industry on sustainable development issues, IGF brings together ministers from different countries to talk about sustainable development. And we strongly support the IGF, including at their upcoming general meeting in Geneva in November. And finally, maybe I have been personally engaging with governments around the world, giving them our full support as ICMM to pursue the kind of action that will see a sustainable industry in the future. Examples are, for instance, in Argentina, in Chile, in Brazil, as well as in countries that are developing a mining industry from the start, essentially, like Saudi Arabia. We have been engaging with governments around the world to share our learnings and best practices so that it can help build a mining industry and a regulatory structure that achieves the best performance from the very beginning. And finally, maybe I would say, we strongly support a healthy and vibrant civil society group that can work with people on the ground and community groups to ensure that everybody is aware of their rights and understands the kind of questions they should be asking both mining companies and governments to make sure that they're getting the full benefit of the industry.
Okay. And how do you, is this the sustainable development, maybe it's a big concept, no? When we think, oh, okay, it's a very good goal, but when you have to put it down, how can you build it? I don't know if it is step by step or at the same time. Now, how do you think we can build sustainable development in mining?
Maybe you know what I love to say is that the world has been talking about ESG, no, this concept of environment, social governance. Like sustainable development, it's a very big term. I like to say that in developing countries like where I grew up, ESG means eat, sleep, and go to work. For many people, that it is that basic. Do I have enough to eat? Do I have a place to sleep? And do I have a job to go to? That it really is what sustainable development is about for people around the world. So we like to think about it from the very basics. And so our job is to make sure that wherever mining happens, it is giving local communities the best chance of having secure food and nutrition, of having shelter, and of having a job to go to. And when we look at it from that point of view, maybe it takes us into other issues, like the issue of biodiversity or nature. You know, we are really in a situation where the world's plants and animals that we depend on for our sustainable life are being eliminated as a result of human activity. And if we don't do anything to stop this, of course, those living beings will suffer, but we as humans will suffer as well. And so for ICMM companies, our commitment is that wherever we mine, we will try and achieve no net loss to the biodiversity of that area, no net loss to the plants and animals in that area. And we know that the indigenous peoples in many countries in which we operate and local populations depend on forests and other natural products for medicine and for food. So if we can protect forests and we can protect natural lands, we are helping people eat, sleep, and go to work. And if we can get to a position where in the future, not only are we achieving no net loss to biodiversity, but we are also helping to restore the biodiversity that has been lost and to achieve a nature positive future, that will help everybody and it will secure a more positive future for the world. So when we look at it from the most basic needs that people will have around the world to eat, sleep, and go to work, we can see how all these other issues like biodiversity, like our work on the skills initiative, like our work on human rights, like our work on tailings, they all connect to the most basic needs that still remain unmet for a very large portion of the population.
Okay, and it's very important that this is not an issue of big companies, right? It is an issue of also small and medium companies, because some people think that it's about money, no? If you have money, then you can do it. But if you're poor or a small company, no, you can't do it. Can you explain us very shortly why it's small, medium, and large companies? Everybody has their mission, no? That mission.
All companies, maybe whether they are small, medium, or large, or in fact, even if they are artisanal and small scale miners, have an obligation and a responsibility. And in fact, it is in their own interest to take care of the people and the environment in which they operate. Because if we don't take care, there is no future for the mining industry. There are no jobs, there is no economic activity, there is no money, there are no taxes. If we don't take care, then our industry's future will not be very positive and everybody will lose. But if we take care and work together collectively, there is an opportunity to help each other and to build a better industry that can serve everyone. So we know, for example, maybe that the very large majority of workers in the mining industry do not work for big companies. They work for small companies and they are often artisanal and small scale miners. And so we have a responsibility as the big mining industry to support their growth and development. And if we need to provide additional resources to support them, then that's what we should do. But one thing I will say, maybe, is that no miner, no matter what size, even if it is a one-person operation, should never do anything that either puts themselves or the people around them at risk. And I understand that sometimes their situation can be so desperate. If you have to feed your family, then you will do anything it takes. I understand that. But that is the opportunity that we all must use to work together to not have people in that situation. because that's the only way to ensure a sustainable future for the industry.
Okay, and if we don't measure things, maybe we can't really don't know if we are achieving to the goals. Can you shortly explain us if ICMM have indicators and what are the?
Maybe we measure our performance on each of the 10 mining principles. And those mining principles are broken down into a series of site level performance expectations. So on an annual basis, all ICMM members will be disclosing their performance according to those 10 mining principles. And that has very clear expectations about third-party assurance and reporting of that information across all ICMM members. That will give everybody the opportunity to see how we are performing. And we don't expect that all companies will be performing 100% on each of the issues, because every company is on a journey. But where companies are unable to meet the expectation in any given issue, they will also explain what they're doing to try and get better over time. And we feel that this kind of transparency and disclosure is essential, both so that we can know if we are making progress towards issues and so we can learn from each other. And if I can give one example, maybe in the next 2 months, we will be publishing how the mining industry has reduced greenhouse gas emissions since 2015, how that compares against the expectations of science, and how that compares against other industries. This is our way of showing the progress we are making on an issue as important as climate change.
Okay. And coming to Peru, how is the Peruvian mining industry ranked and evaluated in terms of these principles?
Peru is a very important country for the ICMM members and for the global mining industry. For the production of essential and critical minerals like copper and silver, it is one of the top jurisdictions that many ICMM members have significant operations in. And of course, we know that the pipeline of potential projects in Peru is in the region of $50 billion. And many of the ICMM member companies have potential projects in that pipeline. That represents over 20% of the Peruvian GDP. And we know that the fact that Peru has achieved high rates of growth, in fact, the third highest growth in the Latin American region in the last 30 years, has in large part been because the mining industry has helped with that economic development. And we see really important and significant potential for Peru to be a shining light and a real example of how to mine sustainably. Just to give you one example, one of the ICMM member companies, Anglo American, has significant operations in Peru, and Anglo American and we are very proud of the fact that their operations in Peru are powered 100% by renewable energy. There are other companies that have similar profiles as well, and that is a great example of how Peru has been at the very highest levels of a critical issue facing the mining industry. Now, looking ahead, the world is going to be looking to Peru to be a major source of the supply for critical minerals, particularly around copper. And that's why the quicker we can remove the current uncertainty about the future mining regime in Peru and how companies and governments are expected to work together and the expectations of local communities, the quicker we can move ahead with the planned projects and bring additional development and growth to Peru. And so it is absolutely front and center of many of the sustainable development issues that we as ICMM work on, and I'm very much looking forward to participating in Peru.
Okay, and in this context, and in 2 weeks, we have our big mining event, the Peruvian Convention, and I know you are invited and you are going to be there to two questions about are you planning to have a meeting with our government? As you say, it's very important, no? The governments are involved in these important issues. And what are your plans in your visit to Peru besides Peru?
I'm really looking forward to attending Perumin, and in addition, I will be visiting two operations. I will be visiting Cerro Verde, and I will be visiting the Grupo Mexico operation to see the developments on the ground. And I really look forward to visiting those and taking back the good practices that I see that can be shared with other sites around the world. In addition, maybe I will be using my one-on-one meetings and the keynote that I've been afforded at Perumin to communicate the global commitment that we have as ICMM members to responsible mining, and to say very clearly to governments that we are ready to be a partner in their development of a sustainable mining industry. I have not been asked for a meeting with the Peruvian government, but should that be the case, I will gladly meet.
And last question, Peru has a strong mining industry, but we also have a big informal mining, no? Short mining, no, not short mining, not big, medium, and sites. Have you a message for them, or to the principals to join?
The small scale and artisanal mining industry around the world is so important because it is a source of employment and income for people that otherwise may not have any other opportunity to earn a living. And for us, our message to groups or individuals involved in artisanal and small scale mining is that we are ready to help support the health and safety and environmental sustainability of artisanal and small scale mining operations. If there is anything we can do to help to ensure that people remain safe and the environment is protected as these small scale operators do their work, then we are absolutely ready to provide that. However, it must always be done in the boundaries of legality. There is a big difference between our legal artisanal and small scale mining and illegal mining. And we are totally against any form of illegal mining, be that large or small scale. But to the extent there is legal artisanal small scale miners, we would like for them to join us as partners in pursuing sustainable development, and to first and foremost ensuring that anybody who works in these operations is safe and that the local environment remains protected.
Okay, so they are also invited to join an ICMM.
They may not be able to become full ICMM members because to become an ICMM member requires a certain size of operation and quite significant resources to apply the ICMM mining principles. However, all of our principles and materials are freely available on the website for small scale operators to still use and for local associations to encourage others to use. So the material and information is available, even though they may not become full ICMM members.
Okay, Ro, very interesting conversation. Thank you very much for your time and your patience. And well, we hope to see and to meet you in Perumin in 2 weeks. And we will be very happy to meet you.
Ivy, thank you so much for having me. I really look forward to meeting you in Peru in a couple of weeks.
Thank you very much. Bueno, amigos, esta ha sido la interesante conversación con Rohitesh, y como ha dicho, pues los principios para una minería sostenible no es una cosa de gran minería, sino de todos, minería pequeña, minería chica. Así que, bueno, los esperamos en Perumín. Vamos a esperar a Ro también a verlo en Perumín, todos para Arequipa en las próximas 2 semanas. Muchas gracias, Ro. Muchas gracias, amigos. Será hasta la próxima oportunidad.